What's up, Takus? I know I'm going on. Well, Super Bowl Sunday's still. I think the score's tied now. It's gone into overtime. Um, I don't know. For me, it seems like just NFL's. I don't know. Do you feel the same way? It just feels like NFL is a little bit fixed in a ways. You know, um, it just doesn't feel like it's an authentic game. I mean, I that's just the way I look at it. Um, for it to be this close to go into overtime and all that, it's just you know, I don't know. I guess it works out for the NFL when you have two very popular teams and it's a close game and you have something like overtime. It just creates this narrative. But I don't know. It just feels commodified, too commodified. So I don't know. We've just kind of lost interest. Um, could care less who wins the game at this point. All right, but we're gonna do some grading. We're gonna do the grade along. This is sort of an end to my weekend here. We've got 7 Superman books. Yeah, 7 good books. Older books, so these will just be kind of cool to grade and get through. I'm actually really curious about what these grades are. I kind of have an idea, but that's sort of the point of this whole exercise. I just wanted to really get a handle on grading. First of all, just get into the habit of kind of looking through a book and kind of determining having like a filter in my head of what grades are what, and you being able to call on that in the future for just grading books. So yeah, let's just get into it. We're going to start with. I think this is. This isn't my earliest Superman book. I have like earlier Action Comics books, but I believe this may be my earliest Superman book, which is really it's quite ironic because my earliest Superman book is just the 30th anniversary. It's literally like 30 years that this book has been published, and then you get this episode, you get this issue here, Superman 207, the 30th anniversary issue, and you can see there's like Superman's pals and enemies. What's up, Misso? Oh yeah, I know you've been complaining that you continue to have issues with the internet. I hope it's nothing that's ongoing. Hope you get that resolved. I know how frustrating that can be. But yeah, thanks for tuning in on Super Bowl Sunday, and I'm sure by the time this is over, we'll know who the bogus Super Bowl champion is. All right. So this book is a square-bound book, and the spine is actually not that bad. I mean, I would say just looking at this book, it seems like it's a mid-grade, like a solid mid-grade book. The only issue with this book, and we're going to take a look at it right now. Thank you so much. Yeah, I used to be a football fan, not so much anymore. I think, I don't know, it's a sport that kind of glorifies like violence. So I'm not into sports like that anymore. All right, so I believe I cleaned this when I first got it, so I don't think we need to necessarily go into a cleaning session. It looks good. The issue with the book is there's this like rippling. So I mean, it can benefit from a press. You can kind of see the rippling here when I kind of lift it up. Again, square bound book. So I'm not gonna like. Just gonna show you a little bit of the interior, I guess. This is an 80 pager, so there's a lot of just good stories and different artists. A lot of good stuff in here. Yeah, they're just sort of this weathering and aging in the book. Again, the spine I think is, it's kind of you can see it's a little bit compromised, but not to the point where you'd be terribly. There aren't any like major creases or anything on the front. We're just gonna look at the back. Back looks to be the same. I think the back is one where eraser time might benefit a little bit. I'm looking for my eraser here. It's close by. I might. Well, you know what? I'm gonna just. I know I said I cleaned it before, but I'm not sure I did that good of a job. So we're gonna do a little bit more cleaning here and see if we can't just get it looking nicer. Got a little bit of that dirt off. Interesting. Must not have cleaned the back. You just want to be really careful with. There is this sort of like, I guess, again, I think just the humidity that's seeped into the book and kind of created this waviness. There is a general sort of dust across all along the book, so we are getting some dust off here. All right, well, that looks to be. I would put this at a solid 4.0. Again, I think it would benefit from a press, like a really good press. With a press, it could, it'd be, I think, a 5.0. There's just a general sort of like, I guess stiffness and rippling. I think it got exposed to some moisture. So there's just this like waviness. Light staining as well. So yeah, I'll put this at a 4.0. I think that's a fair grade. And I love this copy. Neil Adams cover here. Again, just a great unhappy birthday, happy birthday. Showcasing the pals and foes of Superman. And I do want to be careful here that I don't just kind of ease it on in. There we go. All right. Yeah, just one of my favorite books in the collection here. Superman 30th anniversary issue 207. So there we go. This is I'm going to go just off first impressions. I think this may be looks to be a mid-grade copy. I'm hoping it's higher than that previous book we just had. So this is a beautiful Neil Adams cover here, with his daughter, the progeny of Clark and Lois Lane's funeral. So the cover's attached. It's actually really, really decent in terms of a couple spine ticks there. Here's the major issue with the book, and we did not see this when we got this. There's that. It's like, is it coming into focus there? This camera sucks. Oh, there we go. It's like, it's like a stain. Feels like glue or something. I don't know what it could have been, but some kind of stain, and then little pieces of it kind of ripped off. So there's I don't know if it was if something stuck on there or if something tore off. I'm going to assume it tore off, but it's covering the surface of the book, whatever that stain is. And I don't want to try to rub it off because I know it can sometimes exacerbate it. I'm just going to lightly rub and see if any of that dirt comes off. Yeah, that's not attractive. But again, it's in the back of the book. It is a major issue. I had this at a nice 5.0, but with that, I think we could drop it down to like a 3.5. That would be fair for this one. Put this at a 3.5 with that ugly stain on the back. Yeah, feel good about that grade. 3.5's fair. The book still presents really, really nicely. There's no major creasing or anything, but the back does create somewhat of a major defect to the book. So there we go. All right, and why don't I have the tape for this? I'm gonna have to put a piece of tape on here. Or I guess I can just slip it. All right, we're gonna get to do this one next. I'll just give you a preview while I'm putting my book in the bag. So yeah, I mean, I picked this up for this stained copy for $2. It was like $2 or $3. So I mean, I thought I got a good deal on it, but in hindsight, it's probably a fair deal. I'd still say pretty good deal. I mean, you know, overall the book still looks fantastic. The front part of that, but it's the back that was the issue. Don't mind that. This one, I know the cover is compromised. We've got some tanning here on the top that normally I would probably attempt eraser time on, but those pages look they look kind of brittle. So we're gonna try to just maybe do some light cleaning, but that's gonna be it. I don't want to get too handy with this book. So let's look at the cover here. Yeah, the cover is off. It's detached. It's a clean detachment though. I'm just going to see if the book has any compromised pages. Doesn't look to have anything missing. So that's a good thing. Yeah, the cover is detached. There's not much we can do there. Let's see. I'm trying to just find the center. I think this is the center. Yep. Okay. Well, just gonna kind of keep the cover nicely on there. It's gonna lightly also get a little clean here on the top. See some staining on here that we're able to get off. Make it look a little bit better. There we go. Got that stain off. Okay, looks a little better. So with a detached, it's gonna be like a 2.5. But it looks great. I mean, it's had a little tanning, and it is a clean break, so I don't know, somewhere between a 2.5 and a 3, I think would qualify. Technically, detached cover wouldn't get higher than a 2.5. So, but in terms of just the presentation of this book, we've got a really nice presentation here. No major creasing or anything. Again, just the detached cover. I am going to try to avoid. Yeah. Another great Neil Adams cover here. You miserable ingrates. I don't know. I don't think Superman would ever say it, but here he is saying it. Miserable. He's calling us miserable ingrates. All right. Well, I'm not an ingrate. I appreciate what you do. All right. This is a special book. This is Nick Cardy cover here, but the interior of this book is, there's a Neil Adams story in here, and this is actually a really nice copy. I think a nice mid-grade copy at least. So everything's attached. Cover, nothing in terms of maybe a light crease right there. Yeah, it is a light crease, but doesn't go through the whole book, just kind of the first section of the book. This looks to have been pressed, it looks like. It's just really smooth, so looking good. Let's see here, I'm just gonna flip it. Yeah, back looks decent. I think this one here did some eraser time. It would definitely benefit. I'm just not going to do it because I don't have the eraser handy. So I'm just going to do just a little bit of wiping, and then we'll leave it at that. It's actually a really nice condition book outside of sort of the dinginess There's sort of just this dinginess in the book, but you try to get a little bit of that dust off. It's like it's not glossy at all. I think it's just the age of the book. The gloss might have just kind of just slowly just worn off over. There's just no gloss on the book. Let me just show you the Neil Adams story here. This is it right here. The private life of Clark Kent. And you got this this little baby in here that's supposed to be Neil Adams. Like he used his daughter as like the framework for the girl who could walk through walls. Which is a kind of cool story. All right. But yeah, that's what makes this book kind of special. Just that short Neil Adams artwork and story. Pretty cool. We don't get a lot of Superman interior work by Neil, so anything like that is just super cool, especially for like Superman collector, Superman Neil Adams and Superman collectors like myself is just a really cool one. I believe Billy Anders, he's he comes back in the next issue as well, I think, or he's just like a reoccurring kind of character throughout. All right, so what do we grade this? I'm going to give this solid 5.0. Previous one was, we said, I'm going to go 3.0 on the previous one because it's just too good of a copy. All right, let's do some of this grading here. I kind of neglected to put the grades in. So we did 4.0 on, oops. We did 4.0 on 207. We did 3.5. Then we're going to go 3.5 on my keyboard clicked out again. All right, there we go. We're going to 3.5 on 215, and then 233, which is this one, right? 233. No, this is 254. Where's our 233 is another. That one we don't have. Hang on. So we did 215, which is a 3.5. 3.5. 240, which I'm going to say is, with the detached cover, we're still going to go 3.0 on this one because it's a clean detachment. It's like got very minimal stable tears and all that. So I'm going to go 3.0 on the 240. And I'm going to go, this is what, 254. We're going to go 5.0 on this one. And continue on. All right, so we've graded 4 books. Got 4 grades there. This one has some staining on it. So we're going to put this automatically in like the 3.0 range, just based on all the staining. Could definitely benefit from a press. No major creasing. It's just got really worn edges. And again, that staining like right here at the top of the book. So I think if we went to the trouble of Roger's method of like filtering demineralized water throughout this, we could get it really, and drying it, we could get it clean. It's not a big dead. There's a little tear here. Okay, so there is a tear. Drop it down to a 2.5. The cover is still on though. Yeah, it's still on. Doesn't seem to be much wrong with the interior of the book. There's a little micro tear. Again, that staining goes in the back as well. Yeah, nothing we can do about that. I'm just gonna get this surface dirt off. There we go. Yeah, book's still attached. There is a, kind of like a miswrap happening here. That you can see right there, like a big miswrap. With the tear, I'm going to just say this is a it looks good though. Again, I know if we were to clean this properly, get that staining out, which is, I think minus the staining, this would be like a 3.5. With the staining and that tear, I feel like 2.5 is, yeah, we'll go 2.5. I feel like that's harsh though. I've seen 2.5s. Yeah, we'll go 3.0 on this one. We'll go 3.0 on this one as well. I think it's actually in pretty good shape. So 242, we'll say 3.0. And the 215, 3.5. Yeah, that staining is pretty bad. I think 215 would have been a 5.0 were it not for the staining. The staining is just, it's so bad. It's like, yeah, you got to dump it down a whole grade, if not more. Ooh, careful here. I'm going to be very gentle. There we go. All right, so yeah, we're gonna go with a 3.0 on this one. I think that's, it looks great. It looks great. It's got all these just issues on the book. And I think, again, if we were able to do that filtration, cleaning, as well as pressing the book and doing all that, that would just, I think this is just a prime one to send to Roger. Yeah, I think this would go on the top of the list because I know he could at least get the staining out of this book, which would just do wonders for the grade. But we'll see. Something we could attempt on our own someday. All right, so this is our second to last book. Another great Neil Adams cover. We get this just great view of Supergirl's legs here. Yowzer. Oh. Someone, let's say we bring back Supergirl's short shorts. Mini skirt's fine too, but I'm definitely, I think, pro short shorts. Yeah, so this one just has a lot of general wear on the book. I'm just going to go 4.0. I think the cover is attached. Let's just see here. Yeah, covers. Oh, nope, the bottom cover's detached. It's hanging on by one staple right there. This bottom was detached. So, that's going to drop it down to like a 3.0. The rest of the book looks to be pretty. No, man, this art is just. Who is this? I must know who the artist of this book is. It is Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. Man, that just instant fan of Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. We made. Look at that. It's just classic stuff right there. Boom. All right, so yeah, we've got a detached staple. But for the most part, the book, it's got some creasing here in the corner. Along the spine, it's really worn. So again, if the cover wasn't detached, we would have gone like 4.0, 3.5 with the detachment. I think 2.5 would be fair on this one with just all the wear and tear. So we're going 2.5 on this one. It does look much better than a 2.5 though. But again, if it weren't for the detached cover, we could, yeah, it would probably have graded higher. Beautiful book though. Yeah. Beautiful artwork. Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. And then we got Neil Adams cover there. So, boom. Superman goodness. All right, this is the last one. This is a Nick Cardy cover. I just like it because, we got Batgirl apparently able to keep up with Superman on a moped. Yes. And it's again, guest starring Batgirl, just a really interesting cover here. This one is just a 2.5 off the bat. We've got creasing throughout the book. Cover looks to be attached. Yes, the cover is attached, but there's just so much creasing here that it's going to get a 2.5. The spine is really shot too, and the covers, there's a little corner chunk missing out of the book. So 2.5 is, I think, it's like 2.0 maybe even. It's on the cusp of 2.0. I'll put it at a 2.0. Oh man, we got some beautiful artwork there. I'm thinking this is also Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. Well, we got art by Kurt Swan, but I'm wondering if there's two artists on this. On the back, is there a different story? Maybe not. Yeah, that one panel did not look like Kurt Swan art at all. This panel right here, that looks like it's done entirely by different artists, but Who knows? Sure, somebody. Yeah, I mean, and this is just a book. It's just was read and loved. 2.5 is, I think, fair grade on this one. Nice, just Bronze Age, nice book here. Nothing great or special about it. I forget where we picked this up. I think somebody might have like thrown this book in when I bought other books, which I don't mind, right? Like, I'll take free Superman books from the Bronze Age. Again, I really like this this cover because it's just hilarious. You got Batgirl, you got Clark Kent, and Superman in the same panel. Wild weekend in Washington. I've got to rush Clark Kent to the hospital, Batgirl. I'm afraid he's dying. As if she can hear him. Okay, so yeah. We've created some books. It's all good. Nice way to just wrap up the weekend. Let's check the Super Bowl score. Let's see who's so it looks like the Chiefs won in overtime. So congratulations to all the Kansas City, like Marcus, Shrev, my friend Greg. He's over in Missouri, but I think he roots for the Chiefs. Hey, whoa, what's up? We got Kenneth, Nornrad, a bunch of people kind of in the chat listening in. Thanks, guys, for dropping in. Yeah, this is kind of the part of the show at the end where we just kind of talk about just thoughts on things. And apparently I watched the Deadpool trailer, which was cool, but it wasn't. I was hoping it would reveal more. It was kind of just like gave you a glimpse. It showed everybody from the previous 2 movies. What's up, Damien? From the previous 2 movies are returning, and yeah, I mean, we already knew Wolverine was in the movie, and so they kind of do this cool Wolverine reveal with the shadows. That was cool, but I mean, didn't. And there were just some characters revealed in it that made you think, okay, what's this about? Some kind of mystery characters. We don't know who they are exactly. One kind of looked like Doctor Doom. Like it's like just a very kind of like rudimentary early version of Doom or something. I don't know. It looked like Doom, but I don't think it's Doom. It's probably somebody else. But that's a good point, right? New Wolverine. So it's post Hugh Jackman Wolverine. Who is it going to be? And I mean, we may see Laura Kinney. That's what I'm thinking, right? Because they've teased that she's coming to the MCU. Like I think she's supposed to be in Deadpool or something. She's in one of the movies. And that would just kind of set in motion. I'm sure Wolverine some version of the MC Wolverine has to be there, right? We can't just assume that with Hugh Jackman's departure, that's going to be the end of the character. No, there's going to be some new young, well, not maybe not they're young, but like a new actor playing the role. Mad Max like gang. Uh-huh. Ah, okay. So that's one of the, I guess, antagonists, a raider from the Outlands. Um, yeah, there was just a couple characters there. We weren't kind of sure who they were. No Taylor Swift reveals. No, you know, I think like it was funny because so we don't know what that scene is with the birthday party, but you know, the dude who got put through a wood chipper, the X Force character, the one without any powers, he was, what was his name? Is just like Jeff or something. It was just a sort of this average dude who was running around with the X Force. He was back in the 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 beginning part of the trailer. His wife, his wife slash girlfriend, right? They did get married, right? So his wife slash girlfriend was also there, and she's dead. So you just had some like dead people in the previous movies kind of there with him celebrating the birthday. So we just don't know the details of that. But it looks like, again, a lot of, like, it's just like a big reunion of everybody that was in the previous two. I'm curious to see if they'll bring the actor who sits in the bar. What's his name? If you know his name in the chat, he's the comedic actor, right? He's got to be coming back, right? I don't know if they've made any announcements to that effect, but he got involved in some kind of scandal where he kind of made a scene on a train. He was like drunk or he's on drugs or something. He made a scene, and it kind of like, I don't know if it canceled him necessarily, but he's been taking a hiatus from roles. So I don't think. Yeah, Patch Adams. Really? Patch Adams is there. Okay. Yeah, so I don't think they brought everybody back. Oh yeah, you're talking about the blind chick. Yeah, she was there. I just was not like, I was expecting more from the trailer, to be honest. I know it was like a teaser, but I was expecting more. And at the end of the trailer, I was just kind of like, okay, well, so I didn't really, kind of knew everything. There wasn't any like new information in the trailer. It was funny in certain, there was that scene where he's coming, like Marvel Jesus, and like kind of coming up from the elevator. I think that's the thing most people probably would get excited about. Oh, we've got Deadpool officially in the Marvel Cinematic Universe now. And then again, the Wolverine reveal. That was kind of cool. It's like just information we knew, but it was kind of cool to see the actual like claws come out and that reveal. So we'll see. I mean, it's looking good. I know it's gonna, it's getting hundreds and thousands of views already, and it just seems like, yeah, people are excited about it. reading the comments and everything, it looks like people are pretty stoked. And again, no Taylor Swift reveal, nothing to that effect. In fact, they didn't really reveal much. It looks like they just kind of went, oh yeah, here's kind of the scenario. We're going to set it up and we'll just reveal the absolute like bare minimum. We're just going to give you kind of like the first maybe 10 minutes of the movie and some action fighting scenes. And then that's it, right? Which is fine. Like, I wasn't expecting them to do anything major in terms of that. Just maybe a funny scene here or there. And then again, we're all waiting for that Wolverine reveal, which they did I think they did a good job of. For someone who's watching the Super Bowl, doesn't keep up with comic books, and is just like a casual like movie goer and, maybe a Marvel comic book movie fan, it would get that person excited, I think, right? Like, it wouldn't get my wife excited, but it might get like, I could see it getting like my past girlfriends excited, maybe the ones that were kind of into like comic books and pop culture type stuff. They might get excited, but anyways, it was really kind of targeted for that Super Bowl mass market. So I do know there's going to be a lot of like breakdown of the trailer, so I'm curious to see what some of that information is. Let me know what you guys thought about the trailer. Like, excited, disappointed, just meh. I'm kind of on the meh. Like, it didn't take me anywhere. I mean, I'm still gonna watch the movie. I'm excited to watch the movie. Just didn't take me anywhere. No Sabretooth reveal. Nothing. Yeah, nothing exciting to anticipate yet outside of the big Wolverine and Deadpool. So they're calling it Wolverine and Deadpool, or Deadpool and Wolverine 3. I think that's the official movie title. So Wolverine is in the title. Yeah. I like the Deadpool movies too. I gotta say, like, the second one, I went in with sort of high expectations, and it didn't quite hit those expectations, but it was still like a funny, like enjoyable movie. It wasn't terrible. I was really disappointed in Cable though, that they got Josh Brolin to play Cable. I don't know. I think Josh Brolin's like a great actor, but my envisionment of Cable is more like an Arnold Schwarzenegger type character. Kind of like a bigger, like, Schwarzenegger would have played a great Cable, minus the accent. Like, if you just could get rid of his accent, somebody physically kind of who looked like Arnold would have been a great Cable. But Brolin's kind of like a smaller guy. He's an older guy, and Cable is an older guy. Cable's a seasoned. Well, I mean, there's different stages of Cable, but the Cable we're introduced to in the very beginning in comic books, he's like an older state, like veteran type combatant, and Brolin kind of fits that mold, but I just physically doesn't. So that was where I was a little disappointed. But aside from that, I thought it was pretty good. I love the just the comedic X-Force just getting laid away. That was like the That was like the best part of the movie, just that scene where they're all going in and each one gets just knocked off, um, and then there's that ending scene with where they kill off the Wolverine's Origins version of Deadpool, which Ryan Reynolds also played. That was a pretty bad movie too. So glad they you know went there and dissed that character in the movie. They killed off Deadpool shoots his himself. So yeah, I mean, so in this new version of Deadpool, it looks like they're framing something related to a key moment in the multiverse. Like Deadpool has, and these escalate, so it's not like Deadpool's going to save the multiverse, but he kind of gets an opportunity to really solve the first peg of that multiverse unraveling, right? If he doesn't do that first peg, then the multiverse unravels faster or quicker or whatever. It just unravels, but he gets that first sort of peg in at stopping whatever multiverse disaster, and then I'm sure it'll escalate, and we'll keep seeing something until Secret Wars, So, yeah, it'll just be interesting to see what that thing is. But yeah, and he's now officially with that trailer. We're in new territory, right? Deadpool is going to be played by somebody. I imagine Ryan Reynolds will continue to play Deadpool in the MCU until he just well, maybe not. The guy is like a billionaire now, so he's got a lot on his plate. He could even just retire from acting. Like, the guy doesn't need to act. Okay, that's cool. So Normad saying Deadpool had a Secret Wars comic next to him when he got kicked through the Fox side. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I could see Deadpool being a critical character in the Secret Wars makes sense. It totally makes sense. Again, you just want your core Marvel characters in Secret Wars, right? All working together. So yeah, you're going to see X-Men, you're going to see Deadpool, you're going to see just those core characters. What I'm kind of curious is who's going to play Deadpool. So like I mentioned, Ryan Reynolds is a billionaire. He's got companies, a soccer team, all these things has to kind of manage and run, plus his acting career. And I would imagine he's got bandwidth to do both things. But at some point when you have, shareholders, when you have boards and just companies to manage, at some point you probably are going to want to focus he's also a dad. Yes, that's a great point. He's got 3 daughters now. So I would imagine he's not going to want to do these movies anymore. This is probably just he's kind of putting it all in on this one, and then Marvel can run, because once the mask is on, you can. I don't know if anybody can voice. Maybe he'll just voice the character, because that's less of a lift, right? You just voice act. He could do that from his living room or something. Just record his lines. I could see that happening. That could go like 10, 20 years, just movie, the occasional cameo where he takes the mask off, but it's probably going to be a situation like that. So I imagine it's not the last time we see Ryan as Deadpool, but should he kind of retire from the character, who do you get to follow up Ryan Reynolds in the character? I mean, that's a hard act to follow, right? Um, Especially when so many people just have him ingrained as the character. It's all we've ever known as the character. So it'd have to be like somebody with good comedic acting chops, someone just kind of well known right off the bat. Yeah, that's a tough one to follow. As is, like you mentioned, as is Wolverine. Like we're all curious, who is the new Wolverine going to be? Um, I kind of went through. I was trying to think which actor, like just of the actors I know. I don't know. I don't know all the young upcoming actors, so forgive me. But I'm just thinking of among the actors I do know, the older ones, who would be a good like Wolverine, and I think I forget the actor's name. The one in the boys, the one who was played Bones in Star Trek. What's the guy's name? I know you guys know it. I know one of you guys know. It's bugging me now. Hang on. Keyboard's acting up again. I'm gonna get a new connection for this. All right, so Carl Urban. I think Carl Urban would be a great Wolverine. Like he's got the beard down. He's also I think he's Aussie as well, right? He's Australian, like Logan. So I mean, in terms of that voice, he's got the voice. He's kind of got that brusque uh, quality of his voice and character. He's English, okay? Yeah, Billy Butcher, Carl Urban. Yeah, Billy Butcher would make a great Wolverine, I think. Um, but the thing about Carl Urban is, I think he's not a young. He's not very young. So I mean, maybe I'm thinking if I'm Marvel, if I'm you know if I'm Kevin Feige and I need an X-Men team to carry at least 3 movies, right? So that's at least 6 years. You're looking at 6 years, 7 years, maybe a decade's worth. Yeah, young actor. It's probably Taron. Oh yeah, I heard about this guy. I think I saw something related to this. I'm just gonna look up Taron Egerton. Yeah, I can I can see it. I can see it. It's kind of got that Wolverine like kind of furrow. He looks like a short guy. Man, I'm for Wolverine being a short dude. Um, I could see this guy playing him. Yeah, I mean he wouldn't be better than Hugh Jackman though. I mean he'd just be. I guess that's what I'm saying. Like he'd be a great Wolverine, but there's just not going to be anybody in my view. I think what you got to do is you got to just erase an entire generation's memory of Hugh Jackman from the character before you actually get a guy who's like people are like, oh, okay, he's just been better than the last 3 Wolverines we've had. So yeah, that's that's an important key element. The voice and the attitude. And you just gotta those jokes when he cracks the kind of like the one-liners and stuff. It's just gotta be it's just gotta be spot on with the Wolverine character. But yeah, a lot of stuff to kind of spec and uh, be excited about with that movie, and definitely looking forward to it. What else we got? I guess that's sort of the big major stuff. I know I touched upon other stuff. I think on Friday, um, you know, still waiting for like Superman Legacy started. I think they did their first script reading as a cast. Um, so they're still kind of early stages, but like the script is done. Um, Again, Guy Gardner is going to be a big part of I think the Legacy movie, so it's looking good. Superman himself just doesn't have to carry it. It's going to be like a cast, um, a great sort of cast. What do you call it? Contribution to that movie. Uh, but again, I think one big sort of downer for me was they can't use the original John Williams soundtrack, which is unfortunate. I mean, I understand the reason it's not a Warner Brothers production, but it like that hurts. That hurts the value of the character. Like that's just it's in a movie, especially like in a movie when you hear that anthem, and it's like it just signals to you everything about the character. So that's kind of a bummer. And then we still don't have details on whether he's going to wear red underwear or not. And it kind of it Gunn is keeping it like a mystery or secret. I don't think he should. I think something like that's got to be like you got to know. You got it's kind of like you have to have an opinion on it. You can't just like try to put feelers out and see what like people 80% of our demographic thinks the blue pants are no no you just got to go with the classic look. No need to beat around the bush with that. So that's another thing that's potentially like a downer. But we're trying to remain optimistic about that production because for me to buy into the Gunn DCU, and I want to because I think he's going to do a lot of great things. There's a lot of potential there. Can bring in so many new stories, so many characters. Really hoping they bring in Gen 13. At the end of the day, I hope everything leads to like Wildcats, Gen 13, some of the Image characters. We get like a Grifter, we get like Fairchild, Grunge, some of these like characters I grew up with. So you think Gunn Superman movie is going to be told through the view of other heroes? Interesting. I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, just kind of like, I know the cinematic effect you're talking about. Just kind of like, um, you know, introducing different characters, but they all have some kind of like vantage point of Superman, right? Um, and that works cinematically, I think. Um, yeah, Gunn did mention that this isn't going to be an origin story. There's not going to be an origin story told. It's kind of like they're going to just introduce Superman into the action right from the get go. They're not going to do any kind of I mean, I'm sure they have to do some version of it. I mean, introducing the character, but it's not going to be like this long. It's not going to take up a big chunk of the movie. It's kind of going to be like he's kind of saying, okay, you guys know Superman. We can just kind of do a very remedial introduction of who he is, but and just kind of move forward with the story, like like introduce it, have those like details of his origin and everything kind of come up maybe through conversation or whatever. Um, and I think that works because everybody knows Superman's origin story. If you don't, then from again, I think there's going to be an education through the dialogue, through maybe certain flashback scenes or whatever, but it's not going to be. They're not going to dwell on the origin part of the story. Um, so yeah, that's something we're looking forward to. There were a bunch of other trailers think introduced today, and you got to forgive me because I did not watch the Super Bowl. Again, I don't have a TV, so I can't watch the Super Bowl. But I think the other movie was that they had a big ad for was Planet of the Apes, which is kind of cool. Um, I'm actually a big fan of the Planet of the Apes. Um, it's on its like, I think the last one where Caesar, um, the Caesar battles the apes, right? He battles the other apes um, who want to, eradicate the humans. Um, that was a really great like story because he's kind of like battling two factions, right? He's battling the obvious external threat, but then also there's internal sort of he understands like, look, like they may be bad, but we don't necessarily have to be like them. Right. I mean, think back to when the first movies when he was just kind of like this little baby ape. They're testing the new drugs on him, and he kind of gains this like intelligence and escapes, and then like rescues his other like fellow apes and stuff, and creates this sort of like they escape to the redwoods of San Francisco, and then the second movie is kind of like, or no, maybe that was the second movie, right? So is this the third installment? I'm just trying to wrap my head around. I thought there were three movies, but anyway, they're all good. They're all good. Um, we have the one where he's actually now leading a tribe of like apes. Again, they're sort of like um, there's like a leadership battle where he's struggling for control, and then they eventually kind of fight this like uh, renegade human faction, and then they're kind of forced into like a conflict with the humans, and then it's just this post apocalyptic uh, view, or like a post apocalyptic world where the humans don't make it, the apes do. And I think that's kind of where we are now with this new one, right? It's just we're right in the thick of like the original Planet of the Apes, where like hundreds of years where the apes have evolved, they're talking now, and it's kind of where the '60s version of that. And I'm interested to get Namanyang's opinion on this because he's a big fan of the Charlton Heston original. I am too. I mean, that was a great movie, but this modern take on it, I think, is just so well done with the CGI and everything. I'm just gonna watch the trailer here real quick. Um, I'm assuming the Planet of the Apes trailer was dropped today. Tell me if I'm wrong. Yeah, it's 4 hours ago. Wow. Wow, it looks good. I'm just watching the. So it's like Caesar's. It looks like it's again, in the original movie, it was like three races: it was, chimpanzees versus gorillas versus the orangutans. Or they're all community, but there's like three distinct species, right? So it looks like it's Caesar's Caesar's progeny versus some gorilla, evil gorilla. Oh no, is an evil. He's an evil chimpanzee. So they're keeping it within the chimpanzee. Oh, there's gorillas in there too. Oh, so it looks like it is like Game of Thrones type thing versus versus gorillas and chimpanzees. It looks good. They're talking now. That's the crazy thing. There's humans in it. All right, I gotta check this trailer out in detail. I'm kind of just watching it without sound, but that looks good. Yeah, okay. So second one, humanity goes extinct. The first one, the escape to the woods. Third one is the full takeover. Okay, now this is the fourth, where we're several generations removed, um, and the planet is the apes are the dominant. Like they're at the top of the food chain, as we say, right? Um, that is pretty crazy. That's it. Looking forward to that one. Um, I think the other movie I'm really excited about is the Mad Max movie, the one with uh, and their names always mess me up. She's the one from the chess movie. She's also like was Magic in the New Mutants, right? The new Mad Max movie coming out. Anya Taylor Joy. Anya Taylor Joy. Um, this is sort of, I guess she's playing it's the pre-story of uh, Fury Road's character. Charlize Theron played Furiosa, and then this is sort of the origin story or whatever. I'm excited about it. It looks like a trip. I really enjoyed Mad Max Fury Road. Um, the sort of the acrobatic stunts in that movie, the way uh, it's just really well shot. Um, a lot of action in it too. So there's a lot of like really good movies I think that are worth are going to be like fun to watch. These are just going to be like summer blockbusters. Um, Again, I think Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is going to be pretty cool. Visually, it looks really, really good. Um, I've always been a kind of fan of that the ape CGI stuff, um, and it looks like it's just gonna continue to impress, and um, that should be a fun one. Top Gun, that's another one that was announced. I'm looking forward to it. I actually enjoyed the last Top Gun movie. Thought it was pretty good. Um, I was a fan of the first one. I mean, because I was in like seventh grade when that first one came out. You cannot be a fan of the first one at that age when you go to watch it. I remember I watched it at the drive-in theater, and it was just like in the back of my friend's station wagon. We're watching it, and that was just like the best summer, you know. Um, just remember, I think that was a double feature too. The other movie we watched was it was Top Gun and Crocodile Dundee, and I think I fell asleep during Crocodile Dundee, but it should be, it was all good. Todd seduced Spawn. Well, yeah, Todd mentioned something like he has the script. Um, he's got some commitments from like Jamie Foxx. I think also the actor who um, is the Academy Award winning actor who played the baddie in Luke Cage. Forget his name, but I don't know. The reason Spawn is a hard movie to sell is Todd himself, right? Todd wants to own the rights. He wants to kind of create this production element to make the movie himself and make all the money from the movie. No major studio is going to just give all those resources to him for him to do. So unless Todd partners with like a well-to-do production company, that movie's never getting off the ground. I mean, he's either going to sell some of the the rights to the character to the movie studio and give up the profit part of that project, or it's never going to get made. It's never going to get made, and that's the thing. Like if he's too hands-on, no studio is going to want to even, because at the end of the day, the studio's got to make money. The studio's not going to profit share on a project. So they'll give him a percentage. They're not going to take a percentage, right? So that's where I think the disconnect with Todd is. He's like talking about it, hyping it up, but it's not going anywhere. It's a business at the end of the day, and Todd's either going to sell the property to get a Spawn movie made, or just never have. And that Todd's the kind of guy who'd be like, "Well, screw it, screw you guys. I'll go out and make it myself," which he can't. Like you're in an industry. If they decide to like blacklist you in that industry, you're not going to get anything made. You can maybe get something made for TV or like something for the like DVD market, but that's it. You're not getting anything on you're not going to get a movie that's going to run at AMC or you know uh, these major franchise theaters. So I don't think the Spawn movie's going to happen. I'd love to see the Spawn movie happen, but come on, it's hard to get like Superman made. It's hard to get a studio to even like back like Superman. Um, and it took Ryan Reynolds to get Deadpool off the ground. So I mean, you've got to have some clout in Hollywood to get stuff like that. And just getting commitment from actors is not the commitment from a studio. So that's where the disconnect is. He's got to get a studio to back it, and the studio's only going to back it if he gives up the profit aspect of that venture, because no studio is going to invest in a project and not make money off of it. That's essentially what, I think Todd has to really keenly negotiate, and I don't see him doing that. I just see him like, hey, he kind of loosely, well, we'll just have these characters, kind of got the script in my mind, and he's kind of selling it, like pitching it like that. And the studios are going to be like, dude, you're smoking crack if you think you're going to get in a dime from us without relenting some of that production control, like just, quality control on what the movie's going to look like and be like. And again, at the end of the day, it's a profit venture. So if you're going to receive billions of dollars or millions of dollars from a studio to back a project, they're going to want to see the returns on those millions many times over. So if you're like saying you're playing percentage games with the studios, you're just going to lose. So he's got to give up some amount of property control. And our guy Todd, he'd rather not see it made than give up that control. So I think that's where we are. What other stuff? Looking forward to baseball season now officially. Now that football's over, gonna head right into spring training. I'm excited for baseball season. I'm excited. I actually am looking forward to Dodgers games because I'm a fan of Shohei Ohtani. So that should be cool. Oh, let me show you guys what I'm kind of reading right now. I've got some books here. I just finished Death Metal. Dark Knight's Death Metal. Just finished it. It was okay. It wasn't great. I'm also reading Funeral for a Friend. That is good. I'm going to read this. I haven't started it yet. I'm rereading this because I saw the DVD, DC DVD version of it, and they changed up a lot of, characters in it. Like they had Bane instead of the Croc, and they had it was not the comic book. Let's just put it that way. They just changed up a lot of details in it. It is essentially the same story in terms of the ending and all that, but they there were just a lot of things. They left out a lot of things that the comic book had. They added some other elements, and it really focused on the Catwoman Selena Bruce Wayne relationship, which this one does too, to a certain extent, but it's it's just kind of better. It's not completely focused on that. It's a part of the story, but what drives the narrative in the comic book is the actual mystery, right? So I just was like, you know what, I want to reread it and enjoy it because it kind of like, I just was like, no, I gotta kind of like filter back through the original to have that as my base standard, because I was like, watching DVD, I was like, man, this is it's just so disappointing. It's like, it's not the Hush I remember, but I'm just gonna reread it. I got this one as well. This is came out around the 75th anniversary of Batman. We just celebrated the 80th uh, anniversary. So this came out 5 years ago. This has all these like classic stories. First Catwoman, first Poison Ivy, first sort of first Superman, sort of like um, partnered stories from Batman. Really cool. And this is the one I'm really looking forward, like most looking forward to reading. It's a huge volume, first of all, but it's the because I read House of X, Powers of X, and I think this is where the next uh, sort of where it picks up after those two stories, and it's a huge, thick volume. First of all, so there's a lot to enjoy, but it's going to be interesting to see how this universe evolves. So it's so there are all these like swords, I guess. There's some kind of like there's some kind of a sword mythology. It'll just be interesting to see how that evolves. Looking forward to that. Um, I guess that does it for me though. Like I've got a pretty busy week coming up. Gonna just call it a night. Gonna read, um, get through more chapters of this. Um, what's interesting about Funeral for a Friend is I never really got to read it. I read like the first uh, couple chapters of it, but I never really got to complete it. And then we got into the multiple Supermen, right? So I kind of just have this sort of like gap of what happened after the death to the multiple Supermen being introduced. So it'll be just cool to, you know, uh, I'm sure this is just really, keying in on the relationship Superman had, some of the other, really notable characters from the Superman run. Um, Obviously, the relationship with, Lois, Jimmy, and Perry White, Simmons, and his parents. So it'll just be really interesting to see and read this. I think it'll be pretty cool. All right. That is going to do it for me. Thanks for hanging out. What's up, Norbound? Thanks for joining, man. Yeah, I've been grading these comics. I'm having fun with it. You know, for me, it's just exercise. Like, it's kind of like I love doing it with you guys, just kind of sharing it rather than, I could do this like behind closed doors and just do it, but it's not as fun to kind of do it live with you, land on a grade, kind of update I'm putting all the grades in my spreadsheet as I'm doing it. So by the end of this, like my spreadsheet will have all the hand graded assessments, the grades in there. And yeah, I feel pretty confident about what I'm grading my books. I'd feel like what I mean by confident is like, not that I'm selling these books, but were I to sell the books to you or to anybody, and who's interested in the grade and how the grade affects the ultimate valuation of the book, I'd be confident in that. I'd be confident to say, I see it as, I wouldn't hide behind I'm not a professional grader, even though, I'm not. I wouldn't hide behind that phrase. I'd be like, look, I don't work for CGC, but, I'm comfortable grading comic books. And in my opinion, I think it's this grade. And you're free to look at the book, you can do it. And like, making that kind of like strong, confirmed statement, like, I've done the grading. This is what I see the grade as. And I think a lot of people in that situation, whether they agree or disagree, they're going to understand, okay, it's probably not too far off from that. It's not going to be like, oh, that's an 8.5 and it's going to like a 9.8, right? I'm not going to do anything like to that degree. But yeah, like some of the 3.0s here, they could be a little lower. It could be 2.5s. But the reason I'm giving that grade is, again, ultimately just for the presentation of the book and all that, which is really where the starting point, right? So I always start that first assessment kind of accurately, and then if I see more damage and all that, I do drop it notches. I don't tend to inflate that initial, and that's what a good grader does, right? They just kind of take the impression of the book. And a good example today is like, this, we just said it was like a 2.5 off the bat, which it is. And I think, where do we land on this one? 268 was, I didn't write the grade down. That's so me. Yeah, I'm gonna go 2.5 on this one because it is still attached. I think it's one staple is detached here. I think 2.5, 2.0. 2.5 is fair on this one, right? 2.5. It's the lowest graded book we had today. 2.5. This one. The others are. This one's probably a 2.5 too, to be honest, but it's because it's got, again, I think a staple. This one actually, no, sorry. This one, the staples are attached. It's just got a lot of creasing and damage. So that's a 2.5. This is probably 2.5. It's definitely presents better, but it's the staple is detached on this one. So I have it as a 3.0, but it's probably closer to a 2.5. So I'll put a 2.5 on that one as well. 3.07. Yeah, we'll go 2.5 on that one. I didn't have it as I didn't actually grade it into my system here. The other ones we did. 242, yeah. Okay. I got a couple other ones. 243, 252. I'm thinking they're in my shelf. So how many did we do today? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, we had 8 books. I'm missing one here. 254. 268. 307. Which one am I missing? 215. 207. 240, which I did. 242, which I did. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 5, 6, 7. No, I had 7. Sorry. Confusing myself. 7 books. All right, 7 books. 7 grades. Max grade with 1 detached staple is 6.0, so it may still be in the 3s. Is that right? I thought it was I thought it was lower. Okay, well, that's good to know. I thought a detached staple was a harsher grade, but I guess it depends on, yeah, depends on the detachment. But a 6.0, wow, that was higher than I would expect, because that's like a, I guess you're saying like if it's everything equal, right? If it's just looking, if it looks like a mint comic book and it's just got that detached staple, it would be a 6.0. I could see, yeah, that makes sense. I guess though with these like other books with all the other flaws, I'm just giving it a really, you know what? I think you're right though on this one. With a 4.0 and a detached staple, yeah, I would go 2.5 on this one. 2.5. It's just such a major, like this one doesn't have a detached staple, right? But it's still a 2.5. But this one, it almost equates to all this like surface damage in my view with a detached staple, even though it's like cleaner looking, nothing major in terms of creasing. You got minor creasing versus major creasing, but they're, this one's attached, fully attached, versus this is like detached at one staple. I just think they kind of equate. They're like on par, even though this one presents a lot better just because of that staple. So I would put them both at 2.5s, I think. Because this one, I think we landed a 4.0 without the detached staple, but with it detached, I just feel like a whole grade plus, you know what I mean? Like a whole grade isn't enough of a demark. It has to probably be a demerit. I mean, this probably has to be a little bit more. But I mean, I just, what's really cool about this session, this grade along, and that you followed, these are my, like, these are some of my favorite books in the collection, hands down. Um, and I want to pick up more in this era of Superman, um, especially the Neil Adams books. I just really need to just focus and pick up his. I think his run is like 204 through 215. I mean, he has other sporadic issues here and there, but that first core run is just right around this period of DC, this period of the title. So yeah, we definitely want to pick up more of these, but these, yeah, like these are all like these Neil Adams covers are just like the best parts of this collection, my collection. And yeah, we just need to focus on getting more from that run. And they're out there. Yeah, Nick is a great resource. I don't see him around these days though. Is he still making videos? I hope he's okay. He used to have a lot of videos up. Um, I don't see him. I haven't seen. I don't know. Maybe did I? I don't know if his. Oh, he retired. Okay, so he's not making videos. I thought as much because I was like, he was a. I used to watch his videos all the time. Um, and he had a very good sort of like all the graders. They all have sort of their. They have the CGC kind of notes, right? Um, Others are looking at like, um, they're looking at the notes for the comic book. What's the big annual that comes out? The comic book graders something. It's the big price guide. So bad with names and stuff. It's well, yeah, that's not helping me any. I promised comic book price guide and it didn't pop up. Overstreet, yeah, like the Overstreet price guides grading. They have a very detailed like grading on like what constitutes what grade, right? What kind of defects and all that. So I think CGC's kind of mirrors that, but they have their own kind of standard for it. But they're very similar, right? So yeah, different graders kind of have different standards for looking at those kinds of defects. And in that instance, I don't have like the most detailed kind of like this is the exact science of it kind of thing down. I am just kind of going off of all the resources I've read over the years, and just my own view of like just all things created equal, what certain defects to me what they kind of do to a book. For example, a tear, like a very large color breaking crease, detachment, missing pages, those kinds of things. Like those are like really like detrimental to the grade of a book and the appearance and all that. So for me, like when I look at the book and you see some of those major flaws, that's just going to drop it right down to like, below mid grade. Like I'm not even going to give it a mid grade. I mean, but on a modern book, right, that looks great, and all you got is like maybe a micro tear, right? That's like kind of like borderline in terms of how much detriment you would, or how much you would downgrade the book, because it still looks great, right? You're just talking about like this micro like fracture or like a little tear. Now if it's like a big tear, yeah, it's gonna doesn't matter if it looks great or not, or if the covers, like you said, covers detached, it can't really get above a mid grade, I would imagine. But like one staple or staple pull on that I could see it, getting as high as a 6 or maybe higher. But certain flaws, certain real major flaws, or just the accumulation of a lot of minor flaws will just, and then there's that point where you're like, there's so many like little minor flaws, medium to minor flaws, but it's a complete book. It's attached, where you kind of give it that bump up, right, as well. The thing about Dave, I'm glad you brought this up. Dave is, I think, the most, first of all, he's very knowledgeable. And the thing I appreciate about like both Nick and Dave is they're using their channels to really kind of educate people about the hobby, right? like they don't want people to get, like you don't want anybody getting taken advantage of, right? So Dave is very like, he's a great resource on like what grades are, what you want to look for in a book for high, in terms of high grade, and the what he does to his books, like all the just the fine, you know, pressing and you know the iron tack pressing and all the cleaning and just the care he puts into the books to make them bump up in grades. And we're talking high grade means like we're repairing all that sort of like peripheral damage to really get a book presenting high grade. That's ultimately at the end of the day what you should be as a grader. It's about the presentation of the book at the end of the day. That's what I'm saying. Like all these like tears or like spine splits or detached pages, staining, all those things are just like major downgrades on a book. And I don't think if it has any of that stuff, it can't be more than like a mid-grade book. It can't be anything more than a mid-grade book. All things being equal, right? I should say it can't be anything. Yeah, it can't be anything. It's below a mid-grade book with some like a major flaw like that. We're talking a major flaw. If it had a major flaw, like a ripped page or something, like something missing, it's just you got to put it at like a 4 or 5, I think. But I know there are other collectors that have a more nuanced approach. Like, no, like it can have 4 or 5 very minor spine ticks and it's still like a 9 something and all that. That's fine. I just view spine ticks as like, it has to be so like, it has to present so well for it to get the near mint, like just the bare minimum. If it's got spine ticks again, I would feel like it's got to be under the 9, like an 8.5. It's kind of the baseline for the VF, right? Just like what separates a VF plus from the near mint is that spine. A lot of it is that spine, because the other things are going to be very sharp. Everything else about the book is going to be pretty good. And if you're talking about like a micro crease on the corner, but the spine is clean, that could still be near mint. But it's like, for me, when I kind of do my assessment and I put it in that, oh, is it a near mint or is it a VF plus? It's that spine I look at first. And if there's any kind of wear, even like one spine tick, I'm more apt to put it, kind of downgrade it more than I am to keep it elevated. But yeah, Dave is great. Learned so much from that guy. I wish he'd just do a whole I know he's only has a couple videos out where he shows how he does, cleans presses and grades books and stuff. I know he's done a couple of videos like that. I just wish he'd do like a longer, kind of more detailed series, because I would tune into that every chance I would tune into that. 70 different collectibles. Whew. Collector invest. I never sell. There are a lot of collectibles. So what's your first love in terms of collectibles? Sports cards, comic books. It's got to be something. Toys. That's crazy. I think your room is crazy, dude. 70 different collectibles. Like, I have probably my two main are comic books and sports cards, but in the sports cards, I haven't picked up a pack of cards in, I want to say, almost 20 years, over 20 years. I haven't picked up a card. Yeah, I think like 2001 or 2002 was the last time I bought a pack. This one, I pulled this one a long time ago. This is a gem mint if I've ever seen one. It's absolutely like pristine, and it's like when they cut this one, it's like they cut it to be a 10. The people at Topps are just kind of like, okay, this card we're going to make sure it's a pristine 10 in terms of the border balance. It's absolutely freaking sick. Sharp corners. The only thing they could downgrade me on this one is maybe a surface scratch, which it doesn't appear to have. But that's nitpicking right there if you're gonna look at like surface scratches. But that is a pretty thing. That is a thing when you put in the sleeve. Apparently, you can scratch the card. This is another cool. Let me show you another cool card I have. I think a lot of people. I got a Kobe rookie. It's for sale. That's also a gem mint. Where's that card? Right here. What did I get? I was going to show you my Jordan baseball. Jordan Upper Deck baseball one, but I don't seem to have it readily available. Here it is. This is a cool card. This is I don't want to say it's gem mint, but it's high grade. I go solid 9 on this one. Well, there's some other ones here. I think this is a gem mint. This one right here. That's a gem mint. Well, actually, yeah, it's a gem mint. Look at the corners and you tell me if it is or it isn't. Obviously, you got to look. I know the grading companies, they look with like the magnifying glass, and they're looking right along the edge for every minor flaw or whatever. So gem mint is, I know those are really hard to get. You're talking like 9/8 for the majority of the cards, because they're so micro focused on what's visible and what's barely visible, right? So barely visible is again that micro. It has to pass that sort of magnifying test. But again, I don't touch the cards. I don't handle the cards, so that's why I'm kind of more apt to say these are. Yeah, I mean you take them out of the pack and he goes right into a sleeve, or especially the big cards, right? Like you just don't handle them. But yeah, I stopped collecting sports cards a long time ago. Partly because I was collecting during an era where all the cards I had were worthless. So, I was collecting through the 89 through like 2001. So there's not a lot of value. I mean, I think you started seeing like higher end sets toward 99, like 2000, 2001. You started seeing the higher end sets. You started seeing like the jersey, like the cloth inserts and like the numbered, one of 2,500 or one or 250. You just started seeing those like rare inserts, and like Bowman was always a low run set, right? And you're just those rookies. You're only gonna get like what is it, like a 5,000 to 10,000 print run of the rookies. But that I don't know. I was just collecting during a really kind of like bloated card industry cash grab, and not much is. And the thing is, I wasn't like trying to collect every character, player. I was really focused on just the players I liked. So, like Ken Griffey Jr. I have so many Ken Griffey. Alex Rodriguez. When he was a Mariner, I was collecting him like crazy. I had a lot of like Chadho Park, Hideo Nomo cards. Don Mattingly. I like Don Mattingly, Dwight Gooden, Roger Clemens. I mean, I locked all those old school baseball players that before Griffey came along, I just was into like Mark McGuire, Don Mattingly, Greg Maddux. Yeah, he was great. Tony Gwynn, Kyle Ripken Jr., all those like old school Hall of Fame guys. Dante Infernal 2 edition. I have 2 third. I have 4. Interesting. The Diamond Kings, yeah. Collecting in the 80s was fun. It was fun. I think collecting in the 90s became a different thing. But when it was like, three, card companies, it was what, Topps, Donruss, and Flair. And then you had the baseball monthly, Beckett Baseball Monthly. And then the football monthly came out, and then the basketball monthly came out. It just like kind of, card collecting became sort of like ubiquitous among all sports. And then you saw like Upper Deck get in, you saw Score get in, and then you just saw this like just flood of now, like there are just so many card sets and brands, and it's hard to keep up with, but it's still going strong. I mean, still see like people paying hundreds, thousands of dollars for cards, so that's still going strong. I would love to sell my cards to somebody. It's a good card set. I think someone locally would best benefit though, because I've got so many Ken Griffey Jr. cards. It's just, I'll just show you like all the Ken Griffey Jr. cards I have. Just that these aren't even any of the rookies or anything. So we got like boom, boom, boom. That's a Barry Bonds card. Get it closer here. These are all Ken Griffey Jr. Oh, there's a Larry Walker rookie card. There's a Mickey Mantle's hometown hero. What is it? Home Run Heroes. This is I actually won this entire set, which I didn't. I had only the sort of the star players in these cases, and the rest I had in like a like a what do you like a card case, like a plastic case, and I don't know where that plastic case is now. It's lost. So I lost a lot of the run from this. It wasn't a big run. It was I think 20 cards or so, but yeah, I mean there were some big cards in there, I think. Like Frank Thomas was probably in there. I didn't take him out. Cecil Fielder was probably in there as well. But yeah, that's kind of my collection. I have a teddy bear that's worth $40,000. White records. Yeah, some of those first edition Beatles records are bank. If you've got like a first edition Beatles records, it's crazy. I used to have a first print. I had a first print, The Shining, Stephen King's The Shining, with the cover jacket still on it. It was sort of a worn cover jacket, but it was like this. It was just a picture of like the hotel and that sort of a silhouette of different characters. Yeah, that was a first print. And my parents, again, moved. Again, it was on a bookshelf in my parents' house. They moved. I don't know where that book is. I've just been like, that was like one book. If there's one book I wanted to like just keep forever, is that book. Because I'm a big King fan, and that's really my favorite book by Stephen King. And I was like asking my sister, you don't know where it is? And like asking my parents, you don't know where that book is? They haven't seen it. So, but I know my parents didn't throw all those books away. They're just probably, I know that it's probably sitting somewhere in a box at their place. And again, they probably just abandoned so many boxes over the years. It's hard to know which ones they've kept and which ones they've kind of abandoned. But I'm just praying to God it just shows up at some point, and I get that book back in my collection. I don't know how much it's worth. I could care less if it's worth a lot or not. The first print of The Shining by Stephen King, to me, holds a lot of value. And I can tell you right now, I've never seen a first print of that book since. I own that book. I always check bookstores, and I'm like, they're always like 15th, 14th printings or something. It's just never the same. Plush baseball guy. See, it's crazy what we put value into. No, obviously, Shining first print has a lot of value, but you know what I mean, like things that aren't necessarily have a high monetary value, but it's valuable to us because just our connection with it, like the memory or the moment, or maybe just the nostalgia it conjures up, right? Like it's valuable to us because of that. I guess like the best example of that would be within my comic books. I've always like classic X-Men. I love classic X-Men. That's what I read in junior high. I know it's like X-Men, and I do value the original run of the Byrne Claremont. But something about classic X-Men, just like that, for me, that's like super relevant to what I was reading, how I got into X-Men and all that. So yeah, I've kind of like made the decision. There's only 45 issues in the classic X-Men run. And there's a lot of great covers in it. There's so many good interior stories and like backstories. It's like, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to pick them up for like cents on the dollar, because who collects freaking classic X-Men? That's the run. People want to just like, it's like sitting in every freaking 25 cent or dollar bit. I don't mind picking that up for 25 cents to a dollar. I'm not going to pay more than a dollar. You know what I mean? Like having that entire run to me would feel like, yes, like that has a lot of value to me. I'm sure people feel that way about different things. Okay. But yeah, like I have the thing I treasure most in my collection is, I have it right here actually. I had it. Yeah, it's right here. Huh? Looks like I'm not going to be able to find it. I thought I had it. There's a ticket I got signed by King Griffey Jr. from his rookie year. That's what got me on the whole. All it takes is like that, because he signed. I handed him the ticket. He signed it. Handed it back to me. All it takes is like a moment like that when you're a young person, to forge that lifelong fandom. He's been my favorite player ever since that moment. And what a great player did. What a great player to get behind. I mean, and the thing is, I went to his Hall of Fame induction in Cooperstown in 2016. I went all the way out there and baked under the summer heat in Cooperstown, New York, to watch him get inducted with Mike Piazza. Those were the only two guys inducted that year. And that was like such a great moment. And again, it was just like a full circle thing. Like I've been a fan of his since I was, like ninth grade. And now I was in my 40s when he got inducted. That was just such a treat. Such a freaking treat to witness. Yeah. This one, here it is. Oh, that's not even there. I'll find it at some point. It's in here. Oh. It's in one of my hard cases, I'm pretty sure. Just not sure which one. Oh, it's in here, I think. Yeah, there it is. This is my, from his rookie year, Ken Griffey Jr. signature. Still on the ticket. I didn't have like a baseball card or anything. All I had was a ballpoint pen and my ticket. So I handed him my ticket and he signed rookie year signature right there. And that's a gem mint Bellingham Mariners true minor league rookie card right there of the man. Legend. Seattle legend. Best, the hands down best Mariner to ever play. Nothing against Ichiro Suzuki. Ichiro Suzuki is Hall of Famer. But I don't put him as the best Mariner. Because he had like a huge career in Japan before he came. He was already kind of like a star in Japan. Comes here, really, MVP, Rookie of the Year season. You guys know Ichiro's like, career progression, but probably the greatest hitter of all time, right? But I just can't put him above Griffey Jr. in my opinion. Just can't. Griffey Jr.'s Mr. Mariner. He's the one that put the Mariner franchise back on the map, made them competitive. We never really had a competitive season since the 95. Actually, no. We've been to a couple of ALCSs, right? Like 2001 was our best, quote unquote, best season. He wasn't part of that team, but Ichiro was. But my point is like he kind of built that team up, made us competitive. Yeah. Thanks, Norbound. Yeah, I just like I was really into sports card collecting, but I'm more into comic books now. I don't think I'd ever trade that card that I just showed you with the ticket and the card, but everything else in my sports card collection, even some of the Griffey cards, outside of some of the rookies. Yeah, I'm not into cards anymore, like sports cards. It's kind of unfortunate, but I just feel like it's something I did. I was really into it. I did. And then, like things change. Who knows? I might get back into it later in life, like when I'm older or something, but just something about collecting in the 90s that kind of did it for me. But comic books, on the other hand, are different. Like comic books, like, I don't know, I feel like I missed out on, I collected in the 90s, but I missed out on a lot of stuff. And it's like kind of going back. I'm sure that will fade with time as well. But over the past couple of years, just reliving all the nostalgia and kind of like, getting into books like this and stuff. It's been fun. But that has subsided as well. I'm definitely not picking up stuff like I was like last year or even before. I'm very focused now in terms if I'm going to add stuff. It's like it's got to be stuff I really, really, really like. But yeah, I've been having fun with comic books. I think if I'm like envisioning what my retirement will look like, and it will be some form of like comic book collecting or sports card collecting, something like, something from my childhood that I will enjoy doing when I have time. I think I think comic books right now are that for me. It may change, um, but I'm really looking forward to like getting into like comic, buying the pressing all these books, going out and buying and trying to improve the the look and appearance of these books. Kind of like what Dave's doing. Dave's kind of like my model for retirement. That dude has like this kind of studio set up. He goes out, he buys, he sells. He's just like having fun, um, selling books, collecting books, all that stuff. And he's doing it with his daughter, which is great. Love that Rachel is so passionate about the hobby. That that's something they both do together. That'd be great if I had something like that with my son. He's still too young, and I don't want to push him into comic books. You know, if he wants to get into them, I will be his guide. But something tells me that probably won't happen. Although he does like Superman. He does like Superman. I kind of need. I think kids just like Superman because of the primary colors, right? You have yellow, red, blue. Something about that color palette that maybe kids are into. But I think he's going to be more into like anime and manga, to be honest. And I hope he gets into stuff like that. Um, yeah, right. We all. I think having a hobby is great. Um, I have a friend here, local guy. Um, he's into remote control cars, and just racing cars on like this little mini track here locally. But getting all the parts and the wheels and stuff, and like fine tuning the what is it, the what's the word I'm looking for, the steering. Um, but yeah, it's fun. I mean, this keeps you young and like a kid at heart. I think everybody kind of just doing something to, outside of work and all that. It's good. It's a good distraction. I think we all kind of need our distractions and need our, just things that the normal folk, when they look at it, like, you know, why are you into that? Or why are you collecting that? Why are you wasting your time with that? But like, you know, when we, for us looking in to people outside, and we're just like, yeah, it's fine if you don't like comic books. It's more for me to collect. It's kind of like that kind of thing. But yeah, I think comic books. It's like it's um, it's a club. It's like a special. It's a special club. There's no other way to. I know we say community a lot, um, but it really is more not necessarily community, but a club because I feel like you just have to have like a community implies like you know like it a community implies like it's more um, like there's no real strict boundary or limit. It's just kind of like come and go. Like people, like you can be a like a comic book collector um, just because you bought one comic book. You're a comic book collector now. You have one comic book in your collection, and yeah, that I get it. I get it. That's kind of like you want to maintain an inclusivity about our community, and that's great. But I just feel like the the passion for being a collector, like what these books, what the hobby and what the books mean to you, and it starts the first time you open up, the book, you read it, and you like, I want to get the next, issue, right? Like that's kind of where it starts, right? And you read it over, like it's not just one reading. You like read it, and you have to be at that right age. Like I feel like the collectors, you gotta get it right in that soft spot where it's forming your identity and who you are as a person. Now, obviously, it's not the only thing, but it's like it's an entertaining thing that you connect with at a very young age and want more of. And that's kind of like, and that's why I'm saying it's a club. It's because like that's the initiation, you know. So if you don't have that initiation, and it's everything is all those, again, every connection that we have with comic books, it's going to be personal. You don't know when, you don't know how, but it's that pattern, right? For everyone, you kind of share. It's like for me, Superman. I didn't read a Superman comic book. That's not what got me into comic books, but it was Superman, and that's what it is. The actual like real first comic book that I remember reading and being like, I want more, was again Secret Wars, and then like GI Joe, and then like Crisis on Infinite Earths. Those are kind of like the sort of the foundation that got me into comic books. But yeah, for me, it's like that's the initiation right there. You pick up a book, comic book, you read it, you want the next issue, you go out and, well, in my case, I wanted the next issue, but I necessarily didn't. I didn't have like you know, I didn't even have allowance. It would all be based on like, from time to time, my mom would pick me up comic books. Um, Later, when I got a little older, I had like, some spending, like money to, like a monthly little allowance type budget to spend on books. But um, I wasn't as privileged to go pick out week to week, month to month, the next issue. I wish I did, just didn't. And that's kind of manifesting itself now. The fact that I didn't have that is kind of like, it makes me want to get these things now, like kind of relive some of the childhood stuff I kind of missed out on. Didn't really miss out on it, but I didn't. I always remember thinking like, man, wish I had more money to buy more comic books. I always like thought that. I also thought I wish I had more money to buy baseball cards, but I bought a lot of baseball cards. Like, they take, and they weren't worth a lot back then. You could get like, you could get like a stack of packs for like $3-4 back then. It was fairly cheap to get packs of cards back in the day. The tank market. Yeah. There are guys into like collecting Gundam models, like modeling hobby, like we call it pra modeling in Japanese. Pra modeling is essentially, building Gundam models, robot models. But those can get really freaking like technical. there's a lot, actually, there's a lot of hard work that goes into modeling, because you're gluing pieces, you're sanding them down, you're removing all the grit from the plastic, then priming it, and then painting it to be like a solid piece with no signs of like plastic attachment. And that's a true, like, that's a true test of a modeler, to make it as kind of one piece, get it to be like a one piece increment on, like, whether it's an arm or a leg or something, which is have it look like, have it had that, solid, um, one piece finish. I never got into that. I want to get my son into it, but my wife's kind of like, you need like a whole studio for that, and it's not something we can really, because the fumes on the paint, the primer, the glue, all those fumes, you need good ventilation. So you really need like a ventilated studio to do modeling, like plastic modeling, um, which we don't have at the moment. But um, I mean, if you got into it, we could just open the windows and kind of create something, I guess. But uh, that if you want to get into that, I would totally support it. Just modeling can get very expensive, because some of those like higher end model kits are like bank, they're like hundreds of dollars for like a perfect grade like Gundam set. Talking like $300-$400 US dollars for a perfect grade set. So it's like, but though, I mean, those sets are like so intricately detailed. It's a lot of fun. Real drivable tanks. That's awesome. Real motorized. That's cool. That is a cool thing to be into. That like turn and everything. The turrets turn. That is kind of cool. Yeah, I think, like remote control, like planes, cars, and all those motorized things would be a cool thing to get into too. Um, Drones. That's could be a fun thing to get into. Um, those can be very expensive to cheap as well. Uh, but yeah, it's for me, it's comic books still. Um, I've been into a lot of different things over the years, but this is where I am at the moment, and I'm loving it. I don't think that's the thing. Like, getting back into comic book collecting was fun. It still is fun, and I'm just gonna ride it as long as it remains that. But I'm getting to a point where, like, I'm tempering, because I think the real trap with comic book collecting is just the amount of stuff that you want, the things you want to add to the collection, that can escalate quickly. Like, I'm noticing, like, I'll pick up a book that, like a book like that. It's a great book. I'll pick it up, but rather than enjoying that book, I'm automatically going to, like, okay, what can I pick up next, right? And it that kind of thing tends to escalate and escalate and escalate until finally you don't feel like you have a collection unless you got like some kind of Silver Age first appearance or Grail, or you get into like Golden Age books or something, right? It just that list of stuff. it's kind of never, you never feel satiated or satisfied. And I'm definitely kind of, I felt that along the way, and kind of was like, okay, let's focus on, what do you want? What do you want to add next? Or what? And that question it just kept me sort of like unsatisfied at the end of the day. It's like a craving that you never get to fully satiate. So I don't want to, that's not where I want to be. I don't want to be like, crap, I don't have that when I have all this other stuff. It's like, crap, I don't have that one thing. And like, just focusing on getting that next thing rather than enjoying the stuff I have. And just the you know not everything in this hobby has to be um, some kind of grail or key or high value book. And that's where kind of my reset happened. It's like, okay, you know you're not going to have every book. You're not going to get you know you're not going to get these high value books ever. It shouldn't even be a goal. Your goal should not be to like own a you know X-Men 1 or something like that. So for me, again, I made collecting the artists that I like a goal. I think for me, the main goal is to like have as many Jim Lee books as I can. That's something kind of like unattainable, but at the same time attainable. And it's kind of like you're just working at it, and it's not going to break the bank, right? I think the most expensive Jim Lee book is something like maybe $200, two or $300 at most, right? That's like affordable. Um, so yeah, just enjoying it, um, really having it hit that like for me, like that '90s period is really like sorry, late '80s to I would say late '80s has more of like a it rings true for me. Like I was just thinking, like one of the books I had in my original collection was Wolverine Havoc Meltdown, right? That was like a what was it, like a a two-part sort of like I want to say it's like graphic novel format, but it was a comic book, right? It was like, and it just had this real like sort of abstract, kind of realistic approach. I think it was Sienkiewicz. It was like Sienkiewicz arches somebody. Um, but that was a great comic book, right? It's not something I like. I'm dying to pick up, but that was a great comic book. And so, like, if it hits that kind of like nostalgia bell, that's kind of what I want to pick up stuff from that era of like what I was reading. So again, a lot of like old DC, '80s DC stuff, '80s Marvel stuff, early, early Image stuff, um, and of course, stuff like this. Anything Superman is pretty cool. Like anything that, I think. Um, I forgot where somebody was asking the other day, what's the absolute grail, the ultimate grail that you would pick up, and that's for me. It's simple. Action One, Action Comics #1 is the pinnacle. Will I ever have it? No. Well, I have a reprint, but I'm saying, will I ever attain it? No, never. Um, unless I win the lottery or something. Unless I won the lottery, I mean, And then, it depends on how much I win in the lottery, because even a lottery win doesn't necessarily insure you that book, right? Uh, 10 trillion, uh, 10 trillion for a collection. I don't know what you have. I think you mean, like 10, even 10 million would be, 10 trillion is like, um, a little unbelievable, dude. $10 trillion is, a little unbelievable. I mean, Ryan Reynolds his entire fortune is valued at $1 billion. So I doubt it'd be, on par with that. So maybe 10 trillion in your mind. um, but anyway, yeah, I mean, it's not about the money. It's about, your connection with what you're collecting, with the hobby, and whether you're having fun or not. And if you're not having fun, this is why I meant it's a club, not a community. Because a club implies you're having fun. It's like we have the same sort of initiation into it, right? And you have that sort of, just, you don't even need to necessarily know the person. But when you start talking like Jimmy Olsen, or you start talking like Selena Kyle, or you start talking like Jubilee, right? Like there's just that instant connection. Ah, yes. Like, sure, you may not have read the most, current, up to date, or you may have not read something from the past, but there's that linear connection for the stories and characters, and you know a you know a segment of that lineage, and the people that have came before you know their segment of that lineage, and that all connects us. In that sense, it's not a community. It's really a kind of it's a club. It's a kind of a, what do I call it? It's an exclusivity, um, that comes with, again, reading a comic book and just having connection to the story, and to this hobby. It's because it's just not one story, right? I may not be into Captain America, but I understand someone who is into Captain America, that that same those same connections we have to our individual characters, and that connection is the same. So yeah, this club we're part of is just really, it's a really special bond we have. And it's a bond, I think, normal people, like, I don't want to say normal, but it's a bond a lot of people just don't get. you know like, everybody can say they like comic books, everybody can say they enjoyed, you know um, they enjoyed the Marvel comic book movies. Everyone could say that, and everyone can enjoy, like, the X-Men, watching it on screen, or having read maybe a one X-Men comic book or something. I don't know. It's sort of like a tangential relationship. It's not a core, like a core, you know, profound core sort of investment into the hobby. So if you're making that time and sort of financial investment into these things, it says a lot about our community or club. So that's what I think I really appreciate about all of you out there. You know, what it's like to dig in a log box. You know what it's like to find that book and be like, yes, I found this in the dollar bin. I'm getting it for $1. And it's like at most maybe a $10 book, right? But it's like that kind of like, that's like the trench life of a comic book collector. I will say this though, a lot of us have this like connection, right? This common bond that is comic books, that is the hobby. There are also a lot of us that are I think that don't have fun with it, that want to take advantage of people, that want to make a fast buck, that are too, they're too transactional with the community members, with people, and that's fine and dandy. It's not like, I get it. Like at some point I don't know, for whatever reasons, like if it's a business for you, if it's your livelihood, um, if making money, you may fall out of the hobby and you may just want to like sell all your books and make money. And you don't care to be the best, the most responsible seller or, fellow collector. I feel like that's where it kind of, back to my definition of the club, you got to enjoy it. You got to share this sort of like bond and camaraderie. If the financial aspect or just the business transactional aspect is taking over your enjoyment or your connection with these books, I feel, first of all, I feel bad for you. But second of all, that's just a really, it's a crappy thing to do, to like, I don't know. I just feel like some people out in the hobby are just like, they're like trying to be influencers and trying to sell you something, or trying to like, like they have those books and they're just be like, hey, this is what you should be buying. This is going to be worth a lot of money. It's like, 9.8 potential, and it's sort of like closer to mid grade, right? Like they spew all this like BS to sell you the book or to get drive prices up on the books that they have, right? And you see that on a day-to-day basis on social media, Instagram, just people trying to slang comic books for higher than what they're actually worth, like $8 shipping plus, they're not transparent on the grade. They just show you the picture and like, it's, and that kind of shadiness, that kind of lack of transparency, I feel like it's like CGC's kind of on that level as well. But it's not just CGC, it's just, there's just a lot of people in the hobby that are like that. And so I think what's cool about this is we all share information and we say, there are guys like Josh's comic books, who like really bluntly says, hey guys, who would you recommend as a legitimate seller, a trusted seller? Now, you got to take that with a grain of salt, but when we put the names out there, and you get sort of this validation among people who've been to the shop, or been, like, it just builds that like faith, based trust that there's legitimate, transparent, honest people. And then there's a lot of people like We're just trying to make a fast buck scamming, and you know, those people don't last very long. Okay. With that being said, we're gonna say goodnight, and thanks for hanging out, dude. Okay. 400 cards worth $8 trillion. Come on, man. This is exactly what I'm talking about. What's the whole point of you coming on here with your name, Collector Invest, talking about your $1 trillion collection, which is impossible. Okay, you're talking. You do the math, man. You're saying each card is what, a million, over $100 million. That's absolutely ridiculous. Come on, there's no dummies on this channel. Don't make me have to block you, dude. Okay, I'm glad you have a great collection and all that, but don't BS. There's no $400 card collection worth $8 trillion. The most expensive card in the world, okay, is the tobacco card. It's the who is it? Oh man, I forget his name. It's an old player from the 20s, right? And that card's only worth a couple $1 million. It's what, maybe three. What is it? Maybe it's the 50. Maybe it's the 56 mantle. Now that's the most highest priced card. It's like 12 million. Yeah, it's the Honus Wagner, 6 million. It's the 52 mantle, the reprint I just showed you. That's 12.6 million. Okay, so even if you had 400 Mickey Mantles, it's only what, not even $1 billion. Okay, so I mean, it's what, 400 times 10. Yeah, it's $1 billion. If you had 400 1952 tops Mickey Mantles in high grade, that'll get you maybe $1 billion. So I don't understand your whole point to come on here and say you got a 400 card collection worth $8 trillion. That's ridiculous, dude. That's ridiculous. I don't care if it's alpha set is limited set. That's not. No one's gonna pay you $1 trillion for anything. It's only in your mind. Thanks for playing. Think about the economy. The California economy isn't even $8 trillion. Come on. You're saying you have the whole California economy in your living room? Jeez, come on. God. Yeah, go back to slanging whatever you're trying to slang, dude. All right. Don't make me block you, man. All right. Yeah. All right. I'm glad you think you have a $1 trillion card set, and you collect tanks and what was the other rare thing that you collected? Like Chihuahua pubic hairs or something. I'm glad you collect all that rare stuff, but we're strictly comic books here. All right. Thanks for showing up. All right, everybody, have a good night. Yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Keep digging.